Alright, welcome back ladies and gentlemen to the Chupacabra tutorials channel. I'm your host Larry, and today we're talking about how you can make your very own homemade washable reusable face mask during, the whole pandemic self-quarantining, so that you can be safe when you go out and about to run errands, do some shopping, and all of that jazz. And this is actually up to the standards listed by the CDC for virus control, and all we need is to cut out 4 of this particular shape of some really tight knit cotton fabric, and then we can easily turn that into a face mask. I'll put a template for this little graphic here that you can print and cut out for yourself in the video description so you can make it at home. So the first thing you need to do is, once you've cut out 4 of these little face mask pieces, we already pre-sewed them together, but you take 2 of them, for each side, and you sew them together at what is eventually going to be the middle mouth crease so that they're each connected. And then you take the 2 halves of the mask and you lay them over each other, making sure to line up the edge seam so that you can quickly run it through your sewing machine, or you can hand stitches if you want, while it's basically turned inside out. So just make sure you got it nice and even and, held tightly so that it all stays lined up. And then once you feed it into your sewing machine, it should maintain being fairly well lined up while you go sewing. And the objective here is we're going to sew this a couple of times so it lays nice and comfortably flat on your face while you're out and about. That's going to reduce the amount of irritation or rubbing on your face, so you're not tempted to touch your face, which can obviously increase your risk of contracting coronavirus. So we're just going to try and do some nice tight lines right next to the edge seam. Just remember, we're going to run back over these seams once we turn the mask right side out, so you don't have to worry about making them absolutely perfect, because we're just going to run back over them again. Now, one thing that we like to do, but you don't have to, it's completely optional, is we like to open the seams along the center line and then flatten them to either side, because it helps the face mask lay flatter against your nose and your mouth. Again, it helps to reduce rubbing and moving around and feeling funny on your face, which reduces the likelihood that you're going to have the urge to touch your face at some point. And then once we've run over that, just holding it with one finger open, it doesn't take a lot. It should lay flatter once you turn it right side out. And it can be a little fiddly, which is why sometimes we use a tool like a knife or a scissors to hold open the seam at first on the underside. And once you've got that seam open and flattened, it's really easy. Just run over it with your sewing machine. Careful to keep your fingers out of the pathway, and then just finish the seam to the edge. There's really not a lot of secrets here to making this face mask. What I'm going to do for everybody in the comment section or the description section is I'm going to have a list of the materials that you need to make these really nice and safe for when you're out and about, so that they're breathable, but they also filter out particles, and also that they're really easy to machine wash so that, you don't have to worry about them fraying or falling apart. And a lot of that is the techniques that we're going to show you in this video. So here you see the first seam is done, and we leave some allowance at the edges because we're going to fold in the extra material so that there's a nice, clean, rounded edge that won't fray in the wash. And we're actually going to put the straps, either some elastic or some bias tape, that we're going to be able to allow you to wrap around your ears or your head when you're done here. So we're going to do the exact same seam on the opposite side now, making sure that when we reach the center line where your nose and your mouth is going to be, that we open up that seam and lay it flat so it lays flatter when we turn this bad boy inside out. And then just do another nice clean line that follows the edge so it's nice and straight as best you can. And then we're going to turn this inside out. And it can take a moment. I mean, take your time. You want to make these masks just cleanly and nicely, because the idea is they're going to last you a while, because you're not sure how long you're going to need to use them. Another recommendation that we have is when you make your own masks, it's probably a good idea to make a couple of them for each person. That way, if you have to run errands on any amount of regularity, even if you're just running down to drop something off somewhere, you can always have one face mask that's being washed, and then one face mask that's clean and ready to be used so that you've always got one available. And again, you lower your risk of contracting the coronavirus while you're out running your errands. So here we're just opening up the seams again, making sure they lay flat. You're literally just opening them like pages on a book so that one side lays to either side of your work surface in that center line so that it lays flat when held against itself and when you turn it inside out here in a second. So now we're just going to finish up to the edge there, leaving probably about like a little finger nubs worth of space from the edge into where we stop the seam, so that again you can fold that inwards when we add our straps to hold it onto your head. And you have a couple options when you pick the straps that you're going to use. We've actually made a couple. This video is going to showcase using some elastics that are more wrap around your ears, kind of like rubber bands. Those are nice because they're convenient. You can slip your mask on and off very quickly and not have to worry about it. However, if you want to or going to need to wear this mask for long periods of time, let's say for whatever reason you're going to need to take this to work, you're an essential worker, it might be better just to have some straps that you tie behind your head, which will reduce the amount of irritation on the skin on the back of your ears so they don't get raw, sore, or potentially bloody if you have sensitive skin. So now we're just going to turn this inside out. Just pull it and turn it inside out real quick. And what we're going to do is we're going to lay it flat and run back over those same exact seams we were just working on, making sure to kind of straighten them out, make sure everything is unknotted and lays flat on the sewing machine. And that's going to make sure that the mask lays nice, neat, and flat and doesn't try to balloon up on us like you see right here, like it's a sock you've turned inside out and are going to use as a puppet. And so once again, just run back over each of those seams. You don't have to hold open the seams this time for the center line because they've already been sewn open. But you just got to do once more over each line, kind of inwards a little bit, so that it lays nice and flat and doesn't move around on you. This is also going to make it so that when you wash this, it'll last longer, so it won't start to fray and open at any point. The more times you run back over this, the merrier, but obviously don't do it 50 times. We're just going to do it twice. Once on the inside, turn it inside out, and then once over it again to make sure it lays flat. So again, just make sure you keep a nice straight line, running back over the center. Make sure everything is pulled evenly so it's nice and straight. You don't have any extra slack bubbled up on you. And then keep on running through the entire piece. Now, most modern sewing machines, it's pretty hard to get your fingers caught in the needle, but again, make sure you pay attention to where your fingers are while you're doing this process. I know there's a lot of people out there who this is going to possibly be their first time using their family's sewing machine to get this project done, but we don't want any fingers caught in an older sewing machine that might not be quite as safe. Just make sure you keep them off to the side and you don't run them underneath of the metal bits, even a little bit, because we don't want to get any pinkies with some extra thread running through them. And then once you're done with the first seam, go ahead and flip this bad boy around, do another round, and then after that, making sure again not to try to go over the exact edge where we're going to try to fold it inwards for the nylon. Finish both sides, and then we're going to put on the little straps that are going to hold it onto our ears. And really the process for the ears is going to be, we're going to run over twice on that edge so that A, it holds that elastic, that nylon in place so that those straps don't get pulled out while you're using them. And B, it's going to make sure that it runs nicely through the wash because this is a tight knit quilting cotton. That's the best kind of cotton to use for these face masks. So If you know that your family members have some that they can drop outside for you to pick up so you don't have to worry about infecting like your grandmother or your parents during this time, get that tight knit quilting fabric. And that's the best for filtering out particulates, and it also lasts a long time being washed and re-washed so that you can continue to use these masks and not have to mess around with disposable masks. Now, the other thing that I'm going to make a note of is the sizing of that little guide that I showed you at the start of the video that makes either side of this mask. Now, the idea here is this is about a medium-sized mask. You may need to go a bit larger than this for people like myself. I needed a large mask, so you may need to get the larger size. I will include both of those in the printable template. So what we're showing you here is this is how you're going to want to fold in the edges and then pin with the nylons inside, or the elastic nylon inside, so that it can form the straps that will eventually go around your ears. Or if you want to do a one that you have to manually tie, it'll go around the back side of your head. And you want to just evenly spread them out so that they fit over top of your head and go around your ear. So it's helpful if you know the person, is in the house with you and you're not going to infect them, to measure it on them once you get to this point, like we just showed you, to make sure that you have a comfortable fitting amount of nylon elastics. And then once you've got that all the way that you like it, go ahead and start to sew these onto your mask. Now, we've got some little pins that are sewing machine safe. You can literally pull them out once everything is sewn together. But if you don't, just be very slow. Take your time, start at the corner and go around the corner at a 90-degree angle so that you have a little extra leeway there and you make a nice tight seam on your corner, and then go around and then just pull the pins out as you arrive at them, taking your time, and then you won't have to worry about any of them getting stuck or getting wedged anywhere, which would make them difficult to remove without, say, a pliers. And what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that the end of this seam goes a little bit past the point where we need it to, around the second corner, so that if for whatever reason it starts to fray, it won't immediately pull out your ear straps and make the mask fall apart faster. This is going to make it so that this lasts as long as possible with the best quality of craftsmanship as possible, so that you can use this as long as you need it. We're going for the long haul here. Now, after you've got that in place, we're going to do another stitch just a little bit inwards over top of the same spot so that it remains a bit more anchored and easier to keep in place. This again is just to make it easier to A, machine wash, and B, so that it withstands a lot more of the wear and tear on these stretchable nylon straps. Make sure that you have enough allowance of the nylon inside the mask itself so that you can go over it a couple of times. And if you're in a profession, or you're making this for somebody in a profession that you think this is going to get put on and taken off and adjusted and fiddled with a lot every single day, you may decide that you want to have a third little stitch in there, a third seam, but I don't think you're going to end up needing it for most people. And just like that, once you clip that off and you've got these added to both sides of the mask, that's all you need, and you are ostensibly ready to go and use your new mask when you go outside to help reduce your risk of contracting the coronavirus. So I hope you found that information helpful. I've been your host, Larry. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you again next time. I will put more information about this process in the video description below, so you know what kind of materials are the best to use for this, ones that are recommended by the CDC and other manufacturing groups. I will include the cutout guides that you can make of this mask, sides or slices that you can make these at both a medium and a large size, and I'll catch you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Bye, everybody, and have a good one. And stay home and stay safe.